Hello and welcome to the YBMB live show. The show brought to you by Your Body Means Business, and where those of you who've been following it for a while know that I talk about body, mind and business. So on Mondays we talk about body, on Wednesdays we talk about mindset, upgrading your mindset, and Fridays we speak about business. And now and again I am lucky enough to have a guest, and today I'm so happy to be joined by Donna Ida. Hi Donna.
Hi, how are you, Angela? Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you. Well, thank you so much, because I know that you were due to be in Paris, weren't you, today?
Yes, I was going to be in Paris. I know so many plans change, but yeah,
No.
the Paris won't be going anywhere.
Yeah, no, it won't be going anywhere. In fact, I just posted on Instagram earlier that we are in an economic winter, and I certainly am dreaming of sort of getting out into the sun, etc. Not just physically, but out of into the economic sun as well. But these things will happen in due course. But so we have to, and that's really one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about today, Donna, was you've got a brilliant business and a fantastic brand, and those who don't know you yet, what we'll do is we'll just talk a little bit about that and your history and how you got to where you are. But then what I wanted to do today for people watching is just to sort of share your experience of how you've maybe had to, everyone uses this word pivot, the things that you've had to do differently. I know you had a great, I've always been a fan. For those of you who've not seen Donna, you'll see why when you go onto her Instagram, and I don't know if you're on Twitter or whatever, but I always see you on Instagram.
Yes, I am too, but I just through from Instagram.
Yeah, so I've always been a fan of Donna's, because her business is brilliant. I've bought things in her retail shop in Elizabeth Street. She's got a fantastic sense of style. I love it, and she's also really highly entertaining and very genuine and real on Instagram as well, on her stories. And so that's why I'm so pleased to have you here. So tell us a little bit about your business and how you got to where you are.
Well, I started I used to work in marketing, and in fact, as a secretary, I was a secretary in a marketing company, then moved into marketing, and I learned a lot about that. It was actually a really good grounding for me, sales and marketing, because that's what we do. You can everything I learned, you can apply to any product. And I wanted to start my own business. So because I had my visa with them, so I couldn't do anything until I had my passport, my indefinite leave to remain, and I could stay in this country, which is where I wanted to be. So I had
When was that, Donna?
So I arrived here in 99, and so there was I think it was 2005 that I got that.
Yeah.
And so that was the main thing. So I knew that there were steps I had to go through, and I had to sit there working in a company for years that I didn't enjoy doing so. And I was 33 by the time, I could do that and actually start my own thing. So I did feel late, but I knew I wanted to be here. So I had to do that first. And I was just thinking about different business ideas. And a friend of mine said to me, well, you wear jeans every day, you know so much about them. Why don't you open a shop that just sells jeans? I was like, oh my God, genius. Anyway, and then I'd been thinking about so many ideas, and like an idea will kind of like come into your mind, and it's always the one that sticks. And I kind of would always, any idea I think about overnight, ruminate on it a bit, whatever. And then the next day, if it's like, I think no, or I go, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to do that. This one was like, yes. And it just never left. That's it. It was just the thing I was going to do. So that would have been in the summer of 2005. And so then I, researched all the brands. I started as a multi-brand retailer because I didn't have my own brand. Yeah. Found the premises, found the brands, did everything I had to do, find a PR company, paying the accountants and all the boring stuff, still working, a few different jobs to do that. Finally opened in October 2006. And really in my business plan, I always wanted to have my own brand, and that was the end goal. But as soon as I started, had all these amazing brands to sell, and it was, fantastic. And really there was no gap in the market at that point. So there was no point just me making my own brand and then, adding it into the mix. It really did take about 2 or 3 years of trading, 4 years even, really understanding the customers, really understanding the brands and the denim and what people wanted to truly see the gap in the market, which I wasn't even really looking at. It just presented itself as high-waisted jeans. Everyone was asking for high-waisted jeans. So that's how it came about. And then we I've had to pivot the business a few times actually, because it was first to then say, okay, we're going to make this brand. So then we had to, create it. And then there was it was not easy, manufacturing and stuff, and finding factories are not easy at all. There's always like so many different, I mean, I had so many disasters doing that. But I think like anything, you just have to stick with it. And eventually, you know, we launched the brand in 2012. And then, and once that happened, we then had to go through the process of then took more years to then edit out the other brands.
Where you are, and we'll get onto that sort of part two in a moment, but just to reflect on the part one. I mean, a lot of people, especially now through this situation, maybe they've lost their job, or maybe they're still on furlough, or whatever it is, but for whatever reason, people are really, and they might have lost their business as well, and they're thinking about what can they do next. And I talk to a lot of people who want to start new businesses, and firstly they worry about, you know, they're not different, they can't invent something. And yet you're yet another example here of, you know, you were up against major, you know, everybody knows about denim. Certainly, you know, one would think a flooded market, but clearly not, because you found your own place there. But also sometimes, you know, well, often people say to me, well, you know, I should have started my own business. I'm a bit, you know, I'm a bit too old for that. Well, I didn't start my business until I was 39, my first one. I'd done 20 years for corporate, 10 years for BP, and 10 years for the Woolwich, which became Barclays. You're saying 33. I think it's great to start a business at any time, you know, because you've got different things to bring. You know, if you come very young, you're sort of not so maybe jaded, and you're willing to try new things because you're not dragged down by experience. Equally, the other side of the coin is if you come later and you've done a lot of jobs, and you've got the experience. Yeah, so there's different ways, isn't there? So I don't think that really matters. From my perspective, funny enough, I was actually going to start a business in shoes right at the beginning. And as you were telling that story, it was jeans. It's, you know, I went off to a completely different direction, and sort of coming back now to the things that I think are a real passion for me. But so you went through these iterations, and I mean, it's easy, isn't it, to sort of say, well, there's 10 years of trials and tribulations, but when you're living those 10 years, that's not easy. And I don't think anything worth having is easy. And, you know, 10 years before you got to 2012, and then you start to sort of go again, create really innovative brands.
I think as well, you know, it is, you either have that like get up and go on that passion, or you don't. And I've got it. So thank God I do have it. But also, you know, I would always look to friends of mine or other people who would really try. I mean, there's no such thing as an overnight success. Absolutely not. And friends of ours, Bobby Daz and I, we have great friends that live in America. They're restaurateurs, and they had different restaurants and concepts, both as a individually and as a couple, and, you know, went through, you know, full bankruptcy several times until they finally had this, somebody came to them with the idea, and Bill was in his 50s, late 50s, to do these restaurants in airports. And then, you know, it just over 10 years, and like the most horrendous journey, I cannot tell you, with bridging loans, with like, I mean, honestly, every single day, the terror of the cash flow. They eventually sold to Benetton for like 280 million. And that happened like, so they're in their, you know, like 60s and 70s. Just to say, it is never, ever, ever, ever too late.
No, absolutely no.
Even look at, you know, Joe Biden, look at Donald Trump, if you like, you know, whichever one, they are older, much older men. So you take all that experience, you take all those learnings, and it is, you know, I can't imagine my entrepreneurial spirit will ever dim, or my husband's, and he's 64 now. So again, never. So then moving on to like the next stage of my journey. So God, it was not easy. It was not easy, you know, because we were known as, you know, had this amazing denim edit. It's everyone came to us, and then they were like, but I don't want your jeans. I want J brand jeans. I'm like, well then go down and get it from Harrods then. Honestly, like, you have to then have that mindset that you have to truly say, I'm in this for the long haul. I'm going to take a lot less money, or, you know, I'm going to have to sacrifice that. You can't sort of, you know, a lot of people get sort of hooked on revenue and hooked on total sales. Of course, I had this business with all these brands, which was growing. And then I was going to remove a lot of that. A lot
of your revenue. You could have been, you know, you could have been really a slave to that, couldn't you? You could have bowed down and sort of gone, oh, I can't, all right, I better do that, you know, and I mean, I've been in that experience before as well, where I've sort of had clients who you know, it's a different sort of business, but maybe servicing clients which represented a huge amount of turnover.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the business that we really wanted to do and what we wanted to be known for.
Yeah.
And you have to be brave in that circumstance and really fixate on your vision as well, because people think they've got to be a success next year or the year after. And as you said, no one is an overnight success. So what happened? How did you do that?
So it's short-term pain for long-term gain. So then we eventually then it was really a pattern that I could see that actually so many people would have been seeing, and they would have been, I can tell you now, there'd be thousands and thousands of boutique owners and businesses who will be kicking themselves, who would have genuinely known that they have not been for years, haven't been selling to their customers in the shop, in the boutique. They're not coming in this. And so we were doing most of our sales over the phone, because we were being very proactive, contacting our customers. We WhatsApp them all the time. We're always in contact with them, and we will sell to them over the phone. We have been doing that for years.
Right.
And when we had the boutiques, every single boutique had an iPhone, which was for that boutique. And then you would and so whoever, it was the shop phone, and you'll come in, you reply to customers, for years and years.
Yeah.
So then what we did was, I then was like, okay, this is crazy. I'm paying, we'd already closed got rid of the Guildford boutique. Somebody else wanted that. We got out of the lease on the Westfield one, and then we had Chelsea and Belgravia still. And and just in Chelsea and Belgravia, I was paying $300,000 just in rent and rates. God. Plus staff, plus filling it with products, plus water rates, everything, all the rest of it. Water, electricity, I should say. And I would see, and so we used to have this end of day report, and I would look at the report every day and it's like, how many sales are you doing over the phone? I'm like, you guys could be selling this stuff sitting in bed.
Yeah.
I need to be like, even for my staff, the staff members' mental health, like, you know, getting out of bed, getting to work, standing in a shop all day, which is really demoralizing if you're not talking to people and you're just over the phone. You know, all those things. I'm like, so we eventually, it's in 2018, closed those 2 boutiques.
Yeah.
And then we just took everything online, and then we were just like, no, we only have our own brand. And that's it.
And isn't it amazing? You never would have known where, you know, that was positioning you so well, because you were thinking so strategically, weren't you?
Yeah. But I could see, I mean, it's the evidence. I could see, I'm like, what is the point of having these boutiques? What is the point? It's all online, and you just have to, you know, pull that plug and just do it, you know, and just really think like, this is not what I want to do in the long run. And of course, you will lose a whole chunk of customers who only ever came to you because you had the best J brand, gold sign, page selection. Fine, they can go to Harrods, they can go to Harvey Nichols. I couldn't care less about those customers. Somebody else can have them. I want customers who want to buy Donna Ida, and you have to be single-minded, ruthless about that.
True. You know, and I think as well, thinking about your target client, exactly who you're speaking to, what your piece of innovation is. You know, even if it's just something, a collaboration or whatever it is that's unique to you. And then your marketing is all about that. You're talking to that particular woman or that particular person, and you are selling your particular message and your particular lifestyle. And I guess that evolves then. Once you're very clear on that evolves over the years. Yeah.
And, you know, don't be offended by the people who don't want to buy your brand. Don't even think about those people. And so Claire, my PR, for years and years, press, for example, you know, you'll be talking to, like, you know, press and stuff. Some press never reply to you. Then other press absolutely love you. Play with the ones who want to play with you. If you want to play, we want to play. Same with the customers. Play with the customers who want to play with you. Don't chase the ones who only want to buy acne jeans. Forget it. They're not your customer. For every single one who isn't interested in you, there's going to be 10, 15, 20 others who are going to absolutely adore you and love you for engagement, love you for, like, you know, providing this product for them they've been looking for. So and they will tell their friends, and then they'll tell their friends. And then as long as you just really stay focused on that, forget about the negative stuff, you'll just find it just blossoms.
And one of the things that I've noticed about you as well is so strategic, online presence, you know, very sort of forward thinking with regard to that. But also it's not like you're totally faceless though, because you're a big networker as well, and you do collaborate a lot with other brands. And, you know, when we were allowed to, you were sort of hosting events or being at events and, you know, doing your own sort of PR. So I mean, is that just a natural thing because that's what you enjoy doing, or is that sort of part of the strategy as well?
Yeah, it's just what I enjoy doing. And I think there's what, and it just then just becomes a strategy because, I always think, for example, Petronella, as we like touched on before, and we'll talk about later. So she's just I've been doing a diet plan for years and years and years because I love it, because I know it works. I've introduced so many people to it. And then so it just becomes naturally, if you like doing events and you like, so for example, with a lot of the events that we used to do in other people's boutiques, when we stopped wholesaling, we bought everything. We just had our own brand on our website. All these boutiques that we used to sell to would then say, oh my God, but and I say, I'm not going to wholesale to you, but I'll come and do an event with you. I'll bring all the stock and then we'll do all the sales and then we'll pay you 10% commission on sales. So we're still giving you your customer can still shop Donna Ida with you. You'll get a piece of the action, but this is the only way I'm working. And I think that's the other thing as well. You have to be, it's like, no, but so-and-so wants to wholesale. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do it. I want to put everything through my website. I want to keep my business super simple, super easy, and just kind of be really clear about what works, what is easy and manageable as well. Manageable.
Well, obviously, we'll come on to lifestyle in a minute because, when you're busy, it's difficult, especially when you're very focused as well. You've got to try all the time for the business not to completely overwhelm you, and especially when you get challenges in your personal life as well. Before we get onto that, though, I wanted to ask you about the range that you have sort of pared down to, because I noticed when I look at your website, you're really big on that beautiful, all sorts of variations of the jumpsuit, for example. So anybody who goes on, it's Donna Ida, DonnaIda.com, isn't it, your site? They'll see, and you give them names to them as well. So tell us about that a little bit, how you arrived at that particular style.
Well, we always, so when we first launched the denim brand, so we called the denim brand Ida, which was, the denim brand of Donna Ida. So Ida was my grandmother on my mother's side. And she loved fashion. She used to make her own clothes. She died when my mom was 21. So she's kind of like this presence. I can feel her there. So then I would name the jeans after the ladies that Ida would like to hang out with. Because she was quite a shy lady, from what Mum said to me. And, growing up in country New South Wales. And so she was, elegant, well put together, but, fantastic hostess, was very accomplished, could make anything, cook anything, bake anything. So that's where it sort of came from.
That's so sweet. So hence the names Dolly, Sadie, names like that. Really sweet. Yeah.
So the ones that like Ida would want to have a cup of tea with, she'd want to, So those girls. And I also imagine what the girl would look like. So, Cassandra, she's going to be a bit more, hoity-toity, isn't she? And a bit more, whereas Dolly's going to be a bit more, she's going to roll up her hems and she's going to be like running around a bit more.
So you sort of create this image around what you're selling as well. And that really helps the brand. And then
you kind of think about that girl.
Yeah, definitely your client avatar, as it were.
Yes, exactly.
Lovely. And it's really, I mean, I know obviously pandemic's been awful for everybody in a lot of respects, but it's given us a lot of opportunities as well. One of the things is to be so much more relaxed about how we dress doing business. So I'm sitting here in a vest, and you've got a lovely jumpsuit on, which you described as a denim onesie just now, but it actually looks a lot more glamorous than that. But I mean, basically it's comfortable. And have you found therefore that demand for your products has increased during pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, we have really grown the business quite a lot, actually.
Amazing.
But also, it was actually a great thing for me in a lot of ways, because it made me stop, because what I was doing was we were doing so many events and we were running around here. I mean, literally, we'd be in Scotland one day, then we'd be in Hull the next day, then we're in Newcastle, then we're going down to, deepest, darkest Cornwall. I mean, the miles we're traveling. And Elise, who would always travel with me, we both had spots, we were knackered, and it was kind of like, I remember sitting like in the back row of like a flight coming back from Hong Kong and like 4 stopovers to get the cheapest flight, thinking like, this just isn't sustainable. But at the time, I just kind of hadn't, worked out what else to do.
Well, no one really when you're on the hamster wheel, you don't often think about how to jump off, do you? And and it sounds very glamorous, and it is, a lot of it is, but running a business is difficult. And I think even now where we are now, there are some big advantages, like we said, being more relaxed in the way we dress and being able to communicate and have these types of meetings so much more easily. But there are sort of problems with it still. And but I think that's the thing, isn't it, about running a business, or whether you're creating it from scratch or reinventing it the whole time.
Yeah,
it's always going to have problems. And one of the most important skills, I think, in business is to understand that there are going to be problems and be prepared to address them in whatever. And you don't have to be the cleverest, most experienced business person to do that. I think that there are a couple of other things that come before that. And one is physical strength and the other is mental strength.
Yeah.
We start with mental strength for you. I mean, how do you stay resilient? What is it that enables you to sort of tackle the day, no matter what it is, every day? And, you know, for example, if you were to see, like you just described, a massive cost base, and you've got to take those tough decisions, which are not, you know, you can't just close the doors overnight on something like that. How do you get that mental resilience to sort of address whatever it is that might come up?
I think it's like, it is just, and I don't know if it's just me or it must be like other people as well, like it is just inbuilt in me, like it is a survival mode that is inbuilt. So it's like constantly, so there's a challenge, whatever, my mind just instantly goes to survival, survival, survival. So how do I get out of this? What do I do? How do I survive? Same as with, you know, for example, when we like everything locked down, we'd had all these events booked in like day, and we had to drive back home and go, okay. So I'm like, okay, get the website, which we hadn't been paying near enough attention to. I just sat there for like weeks, just like getting the website sort of like, and then and we saw all those customers suddenly were all over Instagram all day because they didn't have anything else to do.
Yeah.
So it was like engage, and just make that website amazing, talk to people, chat online and stuff. So again, it's like from what happened to, you know, in last March when everyone locked down, is just like instantly. I'm always so I'm never somebody who's going to be going like, oh, this is shit, which I think a lot of people did. Oh, well, let's just drink wine and sit around for a couple of weeks. I was like, this is not going to be a couple of weeks thing. It's not, because I knew, like, logically, it's like, until, even from back then, I was just like, until they have a, you know, until there is a vaccine, what's the point? Lockdown. I mean, in Australia, it's like you lock it, you open it, you lock it, you open it. There's still not a solution.
Yeah.
So, you know, I knew this was a very long, it's going to happen for a long time.
Yeah. And that attitude is, you know, everyone's going to feel fear and everyone's going to feel pressure at different times in their career, aren't they? And it's trying to sort of use that to drive you forward as opposed to let it freeze you. And I think a lot of people like you described who sort of think, oh, you know, I'll blot it out, I'll drink wine or whatever it is. You know, it was almost like, hey, I'll just ignore it for a bit and then worry about it in the future. But it's much better, I think, to try and find a way to sort of accept the problem, accept that you're going to feel fearful or worried or a bit unsure even.
Yeah.
But just always feel determined to sort of push through. And a lot of that, like I say, I think it's all very well saying that, but doing it is a different matter. And so you've got to have a routine of somehow, I think, in my opinion, you've got to have a routine to sort of push you forward. Are you one of these? Are you very routine driven? I saw on your Instagram that you use a lot of lovely beauty products and things like that, therapies. I mean, are you routine driven, or tell us a little bit about that?
I kind of like, you know, I always get up early. In terms of my routine, I like to get up early and I like to go to bed early because sleep is so important. So, you know, if you don't get a good night's sleep, the next day you're going to feel paranoid, emotional, you know, upset. You can't get anything done. And even, you know, forget about business, life, whatever. Guaranteed, the one thing that is guaranteed to happen is you're going to have problems. So, and it doesn't matter what the problem is how you deal with it.
Yeah.
So, you know, so if you are, you know, if you eat well, if you drink a lot of water, if you make sure you're going to the loo regularly, you know, all these things, so you're not keeping toxins in your body, you're not sort of damaging yourself, or actually putting things in your way. I love chocolate. I love a glass of champagne. You know, if I was drinking that every day, honestly, I couldn't function the way I do function. I like feeling well, and I like to be organized, very organized, you know, and also just thinking about, for example, in the morning, I probably spend about 2 hours on my own in the morning. So I get up first, I go downstairs, I have my breakfast, I take Bobby downstairs breakfast to him in bed, I take the dogs to him in bed, and then I am on my own in the kitchen, catching up on my phone, watching Netflix, eating a very nice breakfast. Like that for me is really important, sets me up for the day. And if he comes downstairs early, I'm like, what are you doing here? I like that.
Do you know, that is such a common trait with successful people is that, you know, we teach it on one of the very first things that we teach in the program is that Your Body Means Business, is we bring people into this whole world of routine. And it's not so much about you must get up at this time and you must do that, but it is about having that time at the beginning of the day where you sort of get on top of the day and you remember what your own visions or your own goals are. You do a bit of self-care, whether that's a face pack, meditation, whatever it happens to be, journal, nice book, you know, sort of just checking things off. And you just feel on top of the day then. And no one can really stop you doing that. That is something that anybody can do immediately, can't they? So, you know, if they've not done it already.
Just that time, like for me, it's I want that time on my own. I want to get up. I want to spend the time. I want to have a nice breakfast. I want to have a nice pot of coffee. I want to watch a bit of Netflix. You know, I want to like check my DMs, and I want to do it in my own time and not in a rush. And I really want to enjoy that time. So it's like I kind of am quite protective of that. And so I think, and I do think if you get up, I mean, you're going to have, I don't have children, thank God, because I don't know how people survive with it. But, you know, for me, if you've got like all the challenge of like kids, you've got to get on the bus or you've got to get, you know, to your job and stuff. And the day starts in this massive rush and it already, you start stressed out.
And then you can't catch up. I mean, how many hours a day do you work? Are you quite strict with your working hours?
Yeah, so I probably work from like pretty much like the minute I wake up, I'm so like on my DMs and stuff. I'll always be looking, and then I will work. I'll be probably like even though I've been like replying to messages like all morning, I'll be in my office at 9, and then I'll be there all day. And then I tend to get like quite tired or not as useful around 4 o'clock when the sun goes down. So I kind of come up with the sun and go down with the sun.
Yeah.
Then when I become useless, I go, okay, I'm getting out of here. And then I'll go into, depends on the day, go into the kitchen, do whatever. And then I'll spend the rest of the time probably like replying to messages and that kind of thing. And if I've had a full-on day and, you know, I'm just like, oh my God, I just feel mentally wrecked, I will then just go, you know, going to go in the bathroom, I'm going to have a lovely shower, loads of, you know, body cream, face, you know, put my hair up, really enjoy myself, maybe have a bath, you know, and then just watch TV, idly just wind down.
Yeah, I mean, it is important, really. It's not work. You've got to sort of have that balance. And one of the things you said is that, you know, and I know you do, you very much focus on healthy eating, and it's even more of a challenge for you because you've got a husband who's a chef, and I can see that he creates beautiful things, and I can see sometimes that you're resisting them, and you know, he creates other things for you as well, really healthy food. What about exercise? Do you do much by the way of exercise?
I don't do any exercise at all. I tell you why I don't do exercise. I don't like to get sweaty. I don't like to mess up my hair. I don't like the clothes. And I don't like to feel pain.
You do walk, but you walk quite a lot though, don't you?
And I'm constantly like, I'm up, down. I'm like up and down stairs 100 times a day. Like, you know, the house is quite big. So I'm like back and forth to the loo, back and forth to the kitchen. Like, and I'm never sitting at my desk. You know, I'm up and down. And then when I'm replying, when I'm working on my phone, I've got like a long, and I pace back and forth the whole time.
So you're doing a ton of steps. And one of the things that, you know, people often think that, you know, especially with me and my program, they see my fitness stuff and they think that I live in the gym. The truth of the matter is that, you know, especially if you're starting some sort of fitness regime, and for me, you know, you've got to be physically strong to really implement the things that you want to implement. Sorry about that, beep, in business, and to work at the sort of the pace that you've described as well. But you don't have to be in and out of the gym, as you just mentioned. But one of the things that you have got to do is find a way to be active. And that could just be going out for walks with the dogs. It could be just being very active at home, up and down the stairs, as you've described, because even us doing this here now, using calories. And when people jump on a treadmill and the treadmill says, oh, you know, you've used 350 calories, and they think, great, now I can go and have that Mars bar. The truth of the matter is, if they just stood there and were breathing normally and having a chat, they probably would have used about 330 calories. By being, we use the majority of our calories, and then just the movement and the training is really to build muscle, and it's not about, the vast majority of it is general movement, and it is then about consuming, you know, a great balance of macros, whether you know, whichever diet you follow, it's eating healthily and eating it in moderation as well, which I know
moderation is a big thing, because we're so overfed. I mean, you know, we're just so overfed. And I follow like quite a balanced diet, and I have like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, small amounts, always 5 hours in between each meal. So I'm never like, I had that 5-hour fast, loads of water, you know. And the thing is, you know, we could eat, I mean, I can eat for Britain. I could sit down and eat like the most massive meal I could eat any man under the table, but I don't need that food. And I know it's just because I'm by nature a greedy person. So I do know that. And I will eat and eat and eat because I'm greedy, and I will always be greedy.
Yeah.
But I've kind of like recognized it, and I know that, but I also love to feel well.
Yes.
So, you know, so I'll eat super well all week. And, you know, once a week, I'll have a cheat meal, have whatever I want on a Saturday night. And that's it. And then I go back to it. So I get to have both.
And do you do things like meditation and stuff, Donna?
No, I have tried to do it a few times, and I'm like, what's going, yeah. So I just don't. So I suppose for me, it's like.
You have your quiet time instead, don't you? You were saying.
Time.
Yeah, because people say to me things about, you know, we advocate meditation as well, but people say, oh, I'm not sure if I'm doing it right. And I always say there's no right way to do it. You just literally sit there quietly. Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then we call it meditation, and it doesn't have to be any sort of particular form.
Yeah. And even just being in the car, like I like to be in the car and just have that time on my own. Like it's quite precious, that.
So it sounds to me like, you know, you're doing these things, you're very consciously doing them. But you're creating that balance for yourself. That seems to me like that's been really important for you.
I definitely have. And I tell you one other thing that actually makes me feel sane constantly is constant tidying and constant decluttering. For me, if I have loads of clutter around me, I just can't stand it. It makes me very distracted. I can't stand it. If there's a lot of, you know, if there's, sorry, it's me being now, you know, if there's washing to be done or whatever. So my favorite saying that my Stephen, who I work with, my finance guy, he says it's easier to keep up than catch up. And it is so true. Yeah. So I'm all over it every day, on top of the emails, like just quickly, get it done. If you hesitate for even a minute, it then suddenly stays in your inbox, and then it becomes like, oh, I haven't done it. It's like, I'll do it tomorrow. And next thing you know, it's a problem. Just do it.
Yeah. I think, I mean, I know you've got other things you've got to get doing today, so we'll round up now. But I think that what I've heard from you, again, is so interesting. You know, people, when they look at successful business people, they think there's some sort of secret in terms of maybe they're doing their finances in a special way, special marketing, you know, what's your operational models and things like that. I mean, everyone needs a sort of a proven business blueprint, but I think it comes down to all of these other things that you've mentioned: the resilience, the determination to carry on. You've talked about sleep, water, wanting to feel well, quiet time. I mean, you know, how would you round it up for people who are maybe struggling, want some tips, and want to move forward with their business?
So I would say just work out what works for you, because believe you me, I have looked at over the years, you know, as I've struggled, and I have definitely struggled over the years to sort of like to grow my business is not easy. So you'd be looking at all successful female business women, for example. Look at Tamara Mellon, look at the Y Company, look at all of like friends of mine who have built Kelly Hop and all of these businesses. And, you know, what has worked for them definitely wouldn't work for me, because not because it was the wrong way, it's because it's their way, not my way. So I like to work, you know, with a small team. I don't like a lot of people. I hate managing people. You know, a lot of people love managing people. They love having these enormous staff. I don't. I'm like, do your job. If you don't do it, go away, go somewhere else. So, you know, it has to be, you know, I'm very easy to work with, but I'm quite ruthless in that way. Sort of like do your job. And I know instantly if you're not doing your job. So in that way, just work out what works. I know I love working from home. I love working just with one channel in my website. A lot of people might want other channels, but be true to yourself, be honest with yourself, and whatever it is that you like doing, do what you like to do and what comes naturally and what feels natural. Because you can look at the way people have done it and take learnings, but you just have to work out what's right for you.
Yeah, so true. It's such a great lasting message, really. You can take bits and pieces from everybody and then create your own way, and that's the way forward, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Lovely. Oh, Angela, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. You too. Really interesting to you. You too. All right. Well, you take care. Have a lovely day.
Thank you so much. Take care.